I already hit go live.
It's all good. I'll just post it to Twitter now. Hi, everybody. I'm not on the ball.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 48-hour art check round 39. 39. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're a little late today. It's fine. Since
it's my fault.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm tweeting. Yeah.
I'm gonna go first on last 48. I mostly worked on cleaning up my original resume and then making a potential second resume because I'm going through this weird phase of self-doubt. And so I was like, maybe my resume's too unique. And so I started tweaking it to make it less. But everyone I've showed it to since I've made the new version has said they liked the original version more, which is the one with the columns. So I think I'm going to just stick with that. But I did spend the day cleaning it up and tweaking, and it's almost done, except I'm missing a little graphic for the inside of the circle that's up there. But yeah.
See, I'm nodding along just to let everybody know, because you and I talked around
she literally sat with me for 2 hours while I worked on this today.
Yeah. So because I normally feel like I'm always like, oh yeah, I like this one better, but it's because we literally talked.
Yeah, we've already talked about it. You're one of the people that said, hey, I like the one with the columns more.
That's just us, though. That's what happens when you're doing this with one of your best friends. It's legit hey, I'm bored. We have art check. Let's just log into the creator studio and talk. So mine, you've already seen it, but I've just been working on that Disney graphic, and I feel like it's going to get repetitive, but I'm very particular, and also it's a lot of small changes that are happening. That is so it looks kind of small, but when the design itself is done and you're going to look at the very beginning versus the very end, it's going to be a huge difference.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today I made this little guy. He's not the best when you look at him up close, but it's because he's so far away that if I went into more detail, it would get so lost. Yeah, so even the Mickey Mouse head, I had to make more of a stereotypical one and not actually his head.
Yeah.
Because when I tried to do that, you couldn't really get the point across from far away.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I added these little things.
I was looking at those.
Yeah, so it's I reorganized my workspace. So it's like this.
Yeah.
It's like this thing, but just less detailed, obviously, because it's smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I added these little things, and I added flags. I don't think I had those added last time.
No. Well, and the purple, I mean, maybe I just haven't seen it in a while, but the purple, ground, wasn't there before?
I think it's more purple now.
It looks really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so the main difference with the purple is it was purple, but the background itself was purple as well, and now I made the background blue, so you can actually see the purple.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, and then for the sake of this, I actually put I actually changed how many cubes each thing has.
Oh, so yeah.
This was it. This was it last time I showed it, and then this is it now.
Yeah.
So, and I've just been using that. I mean, we'll talk about this, I guess, in 2020 goals, because we both have our goals for social media.
Yeah.
But I've just seriously been driving this home, making content.
Yeah.
From this. So it's been cool.
It's looking really good.
Yeah, thanks. I think I did something else, and I'll come up with it later, probably. We'll be into next 48, and I'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, sweet challenges.
Cool. I actually haven't had very many challenges.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fancy.
I know. I've been working. I worked on my stuff. I've been getting things done. So, yeah. I haven't had challenges. And I actually did my goals for once. So,
yeah.
But we'll get to that. Yeah. So what have your challenges been?
I mean, you know this because we talked a little bit after the art check, and I just can't remember anything about Monday's art check. So I don't know if I said this, but I just had some stuff happen on Monday where like the beginning of Monday was like a really good day. And then Monday afternoon, I just like my mental health just like, and then that's now a description instead of using words, but it just kind of did that. And the thing that caused it actually was fixed, like within 24 hours it was fixed, but I just haven't bounced back yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a very on and off bouncing back. It's like when I'm at home, I'm fine. Like I'm pretty much bounced back because my roommates are like cheering me up and stuff. Like we literally made my hair into a mohawk today, just because we were having fun. It used to be a lot spikier, but this headset's killing it. But just like doing stuff like that. But it's more so like when I'm at work or like on campus, like it's just been really bad anxiety and stuff, which has been a challenge, but it's also been great because it has reminded me of why I've gotten into art in the first place.
Yeah.
And I love it. And it's like, it gives me like this own little world that I get to work in. And so it's seriously the best. But also just other than that, I don't know. I mean, you and I talked about it, but I've been questioning being a graphic designer versus going into social media. So, but it's been good. It's just a lot of like stuff thrown at everybody right now. And I feel like I'm complaining about life, and I'm not. Life is like, I'm not complaining about life at all. It's just a lot of stuff going on. So, but I love art, and I love art check.
Yeah.
So, all right, the next 48.
Next 48. I am just going to be, well, I guess I'm pretty much finished with my resume except for that little graphic that I need to figure out what I'm doing with there. But I had the idea to, well, you had mentioned doing like little ones that represent each of the skills that I mentioned. And so I have an idea of how to, I have a couple ideas that I'm going to work through and then figure out which one I like the most on it. So we'll see with that. And then something else popped into my head today of something I should work on. Oh, the animation for the beginning of our art check. I got reminded of that today. Oh, and I'm working on my rune thing, which will tie into my Instagram. But I have set a deadline for myself that I now have to have that done by Saturday. So, well, because I said I'm going to post about it on Saturday, so I got to have it done by then. So, yeah.
I will say I love social media, like saying like, oh, I'm going to do this because you have to. And fun fact side thing. Oh, no, I'll talk about my next 48 and then I'll get into it. We need to do social media week.
We do.
We have to, because I am dying. Because I could talk about this forever. But really quick, just something just for everybody. I was doing research on this, and I found this thing basically saying like the worst thing that you can do for your account is to post every single day and then stop. Just like cold turkey stop. That's the worst thing that you can do for your account. So, anyways.
Cool. So
that.
You're setting me up to kill my account.
No, I'm setting you up to continue making content.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing.
Yep. What are you doing in the next 48?
Right after we get off, I have to work on something for client work. Which we still haven't signed a contract with them. So I still don't know if I'm under NDA. Because I would love to say that I'm not. But I can show the other one. Because they didn't get chosen because the client chose to go another way. But anyways, I'm creating a new poster for them. I'm sketching it out tonight. And then I'm going to pitch it. It's like an idea that another designer came up with, kind of based off of like we worked together.
Yeah.
I'm just fixing that. But anyways, here's the one that I kept on talking about.
Yeah.
So it's a vape, and it says, "Is cotton candy gonna kill you?" And it's like a huge cotton candy vape cloud, and he's eating it. And then these little guys are climbing up empty vape refills.
Yeah.
And then this one is, "How willing are you to roll the dice?" And this dice on the one, it always has a skull.
Mm-hmm.
So those were those. Sadly, we all made sketches and everything, and they didn't choose any of them. So yeah, they just changed directions on the project,
Okay.
which is fine. But yeah, so now I have to create a new sketch for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like to get this thing done. How do I pull it back up? I would love to get this thing done. But it just depends because I'm constricted by work hours. And so it depends. But I'll make more work. I'll get more done on it because I have 3 hours tomorrow that I can use. So
cool.
That's it. 2020 goals.
I'm doing good. I didn't end up posting on Wednesday because I got distracted with like captions and stuff. But I posted on Tuesday and today. So I am on a 2-day streak right now. So yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That was your goal, right? Did you have more? Or was it just that one that we're checking in on?
I've had other ones, but that's the only one I'm like really reporting on.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Before I started talking. Credit card debt has hit 0.
Woo.
It hit 0 officially. I think I talked about paying it off on Monday, but like it actually came through my account.
Yeah.
To be 0 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I got all notifications like, "Hey, everything's been paid off, and your credit card score has actually gone up this time."
Nice.
So I've just been doing that. And now I have learned like there's certain places where I can use my credit card and get cash back.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I went and used it on like a $6 purchase, and like I'm going to pay that off, but like I'm getting cash back.
Yeah.
So I'm learning that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then my social media just kind of had the general thing, just wanted to grow it.
Mm-hmm.
I necessarily wasn't going to try and do as in-depth as you were, but I kind of screwed myself over and started posting every day. And then saw that post and I was like, "Oh, dang it, I'm stuck." I know. And so just that whole like posting, I've been posting except for Sunday. I skipped Sunday. But that's just a personal thing. I don't work on Sunday, and since I didn't have pre-planned content for Sunday, I just didn't post.
Yeah.
But I've been posting maybe a week now, 5 days at least. So that's been it. And to make up for lost time, I posted twice today, I think. Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's been my thing.
Nice.
So
cool.
If you would like to
intro our topic.
Yep.
All right. So today we are talking about how design principles and, you know, elements about design and everything that we've been talking about can also apply to like real life, basically. Mm-hmm. It is honestly inspired by a recent episode of the podcast that I talk about all the time, the You Are a Storyteller podcast. They did one, I think it was either at the beginning of January or the end of I think it was the end of December. They did an episode about how story structure can be applied to everyday life. And that kind of got me in the mindset of looking at design principles and like all of those things that we talk about all the time and how they also can tie in and kind of help you make clear decisions and like clean up your life and stuff. Mm-hmm. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I want you to start because I want to hear how you lead it and then I will hop on that.
So I guess one of the first things I was thinking about was one of our very recent episodes, we were talking about what's your brand, and we kind of already tied that in there because like we were talking about your brand as a designer, but then we also talked about how you personally have a brand that like people know you by, and it's like, do you have a good work ethic? Like, are you on time? Are you honest? Like, those things are important to you as a designer, but also important to you as a person to like have a good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which teacher was telling me about this, but someone was once telling me that like there are 3 things that like a freelance designer has, and it's like they're easy to work with, they do good work, and they're on time. And it's like, as long as you have 2 of those 3 things, you're okay. But like, if you aren't really good on one of those things, people are going to hear about it and they're not going to want to work with you.
Yeah. And I agree on that. Just so are we talking more about like your brand again, or are we talking about
No, just that in general? But like, that was
kind of just what inspired it.
That I had thought about was that episode of, you know, having a brand is a design thing, but we were already talking about how it applies to life.
Yeah.
So I was kind of using that as a jumping off example thing.
Okay, cool. I was making sure that I didn't, because I was like, wait, I have a lot of thoughts, because Monday's episode is like one of the things. But okay, let me think. Sorry, I had ideas and then I lost them.
You're good.
But when you were talking about design in life, I was mainly thinking like contrast, alignment, repetition, and proximity.
Well,
and
no,
like
that's also something else that I want to pull into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But first, so what you're talking about design in life and talking about branding and stuff like that definitely is a design thing or a marketing thing or a social media thing. I think I've noticed it because I like last episode we were talking a lot about like what's your brand in general, and we didn't quite say what's your brand as a designer, because my thought on that one was like I want to branch outside of like what's your design brand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like what's your brand in general. And one thing that I've been thinking about a lot is like my brand name is Do Good Visual Comms, because I have my self brand that I'm working on, which I'm talking about mental health, and just kind of being open about that on my social media, which like people have like given me really good responses on, and so that's going well. But then I have my design brand, and I don't think that I'm two different people necessarily on there. But other than 48-hour art check, I never talk about my mental health on my design brand. I just don't do it. Like it's not like that. But the reason that I'm bringing that up is because on my YouTube, I'm not Do Good Visual Comms. Like my cover photo says that I am, but my name is Kayla Do Good, and on your YouTube, you're Kaitlin McKenna, not Kaitlin
Yeah.
When we do art check, that's something that has seriously affected both of our lives. That has like seriously changed the way that we live our lives. That's, I mean, not like necessarily the way that we live our lives, but kind of like I feel like it's caused both of us to be more productive and caused both of us to plan our schedules out around 48-hour art check. Mm-hmm. Like we're episode 39. We're about to hit 50, which means that we've been doing this for 39 days. We've done this 39 times, way more days, but we've sat down and done this 39 times. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, it's kind of started to change how, at least for me, how I live my life, because I don't want to show up on a Monday or Wednesday and not have anything done.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of changed that. And also just like, it's just changed a lot of how I look at life. Like I'm always like, okay, what can we talk about on the show? And it just changes the way that I think about things too, because I'm constantly trying to come up with topics, or I hear something said by the professors or by a colleague, or by somebody that I'm helping in the lab. And I'm like, oh wait, that would actually be like a really cool topic. That would be awesome. We should do that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so it's really affected that, like that part of me And like I would highly recommend anybody to do a 48-hour art check of any way. But I think that's one thing that at least I didn't account for, and I don't know if you accounted for it per se, but that has been one change in my life since we started this show.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, sorry, especially thinking about like you're looking for things to talk about in your life now, because we have this running notes document where we like write down stuff that we want to talk about. And I think it is really interesting because like I may not always write it down, but I'll have a thought of like, oh, that would be really interesting to talk about. Like with this podcast that I was listening to, I was like, oh, like I would like to talk about that too. That's very interesting. And so I think that, you know, I mean, maybe it's not specifically design principles in life, but making yourself have a design mindset throughout your day can like help you to realize things or focus on things that you didn't before.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to be like, sorry, 1 second.
You're good.
I'm trying to find the mute button so I can actually cough. Sorry. I don't have water next to me this time. What I was going to say is like, I'm not trying to make this like, oh, I'm like questioning my life decisions. But like today, I think I needed this topic because I've just been like, yeah, design something that I do. Like, it's just something that I do. It doesn't really affect me. I could leave it out of my life and be fine. Which is not true. It's not true. Just because I love it so much that it is something. But I've also noticed a change. Just like when I first got started, I was chomping at the bit to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I mean, you remember me. That one semester I was chomping at the bit, like doing my animation.
Yeah.
And I'm not chomping at the bit to do anything right now. Like I have my animation idea. And it's not that I'm not excited about it, but I know how much it's going to take. And I know that I'm ill prepared to do it. And so it's taking me longer to get started on it because I don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah.
Because I don't just want it to be an abandoned project. But it's one of those things where like, how has design affected my life? Because it goes deeper than just like, oh, I looked at a poster today and I saw Comic Scans and hated everything. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Which is interesting because this is one of the first topics that we had on the show. This is maybe not the same exact topic, but this is one of the first things that we talked about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
With how does design affect you in everyday life?
Yes.
And I think it's interesting to come back to this topic, especially now that we've been doing this for so long, because that's kind of where my mind has gone to, is like the show.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like, how does 48-hour art check affect you? But it really is like one of those things where Kerr and I will be talking and he goes, how's art check? And it's just like, oh, it's actually going really well, you know, like da-da-da. Or like I watch his and Joshua Campbell's art check as much as possible because they always say things. I don't exactly take their topic. Like sometimes I'll write down their topic because I just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But they'll always say things and I'm like, that's going in our art check. And I'll like throw it into the list. Which I feel bad because it notifies the other one whenever we update it.
Yeah.
And so it's like 2 a.m. for you, midnight for me, and I'm like here's these things. I don't know. I might just be rambling, just because I really didn't think about it that way until you started to talk about like personal brands and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, I totally forgot that this was one of our first episodes of how does design affect you in everyday life. But it reminds me of like once you brought it up, I remember something that I talked about in that episode of how I am so into product design now. Like I will spend the extra $2 for the cooler packaging. Like, and I I'm not saying that like that's a good or a bad thing, but it's just something that I do now because like that small element of liking things that look nice like has just spread. I used to make fun of this, well, not make fun of, but I used to not understand why this one girl I hung out with would not go into a restaurant if she didn't like the font. But it's like, it's just those little things that come into focus when you have that mindset.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I just did the math. We started this show in August. It's February. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah.
And so I wish I could remember some of the stuff that I talked about. But yeah, I remember you bringing up that restaurant thing and like not going in because of that. But I was dating a graphic designer for a couple months. And it was funny because we were in a restaurant and there was like a poster up and the typography, oh, so bad. There were like 5 different contrasting fonts, like different scripts.
No.
And it was just so bad. And literally, I kid you not, that was a topic of conversation on our date, was just like talking about typography and just like stuff like that. And I'm bringing that up not to like, because like that was a date conversation, but like how has design affected me in everyday life? Almost all my friends are designers.
Yeah.
I have 5 that aren't, you know, and like 5 might be 5 is right around the middle of where it probably actually is. It might be a little bit too much, but it might not be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have friends. I'm going to preface it that way. I have friends, but they all do design in some way, shape, or form. And that's just kind of like the way that I live my life. And it's never like, oh, I only want to be friends with designers. But it's just like, for some reason, I like the ability to just talk about like, here's this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here, let's talk about typography. Let's talk about the design of my resume. You know, like, let's make jokes about, you know, stuff like that. And it's just nice because it's an automatic topic of conversation for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's changed a lot in the past 7 months, where it was like, when we started this, it was like a summer thing. Like, it was a summer thing. We're just going to get on our feet and continue to design. And that was kind of the goal. We didn't have an end date. Hi, Salazar. Yeah, we've been doing this for 7 months. Sorry, I got excited. But we really did. We started this and we were just like, we don't have an end date. Let's go for it. And I mean, just like reflecting on my life since we started the art check, since I even got involved in design, my life has changed a lot. I got into graphic design for real January of last year. Maybe we'll give it February. You know, maybe we'll give it February.
Yeah.
Because at that point is when I started to get to know Corey Kerr. And he would pull up his own designs and like do all this stuff. And I just remember like, I want to be like this guy. This is who I want to be like. Like, he terrified me in class. He did. Because one of the first things that he says is, this class is one of those classes where I'm going to kick you into the pool, go make myself a sandwich, come back and see if you're still swimming. And I was like, what the heck is this class? But I remember also I was like, this is like for real. This class isn't just about grades. This class is, do you want to design?
Yeah.
And my life has changed since then. And specifically because I met him, where one thing that has changed in me is I have the mindset of, if I hate something, I'm going to do it until I like it. Which people have said I'm crazy for. But
it's an interesting philosophy. But
it is, because here's the thing. If Kerr ever listens to this, I hope he's like proud of me for taking this away from the conversation with him. But he said, you don't like things. People don't like things and they give up just because it got difficult. It's like a natural thing with us is we don't like things because they get hard. We want it to be easy. And so naturally, if something's new and difficult, we hate it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to just hate something that just because I don't want to hate it just because it's hard.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like talked about it, and I'm definitely paraphrasing what he said, and he can say it 10 times better. But he basically was just talking about that. And I remember because I was in an HTML and CSS class at the time, and I was considering starting this animation. And he said that to me, and I was like, well, I don't want to just give up. I was like, if I don't like it, I'm going to love it. Like, if I hate it, I'm going to love it. And so, I kid you not, I worked my butt off and got a 103 in the HTML and CSS class. I looked at it the other day.
Yeah.
If you ever thought, oh, Kayla might be an overachiever, just a little bit, 103. And I seriously did. I worked my butt off and I did that animation. And like that seriously changed my life. Now when I hit something and I'm like, oh, I don't like it, I'm like, I want to do it. I'm going to make myself like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give myself whatever tools I need so this way I learn to love it. Because that's it. And that's not necessarily design, but for me, that's only ever really, it's affected me in day-to-day life because my day-to-day life is design. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're looking for with this topic? Or am I going off?
It was one of those topics where, there's like 4 or 5 things I would like to hit on about it.
Well, we've got time tonight, so.
Yes, we do. So one of the other, are you good if I transition into the other one?
Yeah.
So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, was about how like not just like the topics that we talk about can apply to life, but like actual design principles. So like repetition and like color theory and all of those things. One of the things that I was thinking about is how and you can probably speak to this way better than I can because you did public speaking for a really long time, but how when you repeat like a certain word or a certain phrase, that stands out in the speech and it can help you drive your point across a lot better because you're using that phrase over and over again.
Yeah. I'm trying not to like just talk the whole episode, but yeah, you're right. So I did public speaking for 1 second.
You're good.
7 years, which is saying something because I'm 20. And I technically haven't stopped. I've taken a slight pause, but I'm getting back into it in April. So I'm still going to count this. And I help teach classes and stuff and just do all that. But yeah, I've been doing public speaking for about 7 years. And it seriously is one of those things. Repetition is huge. It really is. And I mean, just in general, like you would think that public speaking doesn't have much to do with design at all, because it doesn't sound like it. But public speakers use slideshows.
Yeah.
And I will say this, one of my pet peeves is when people want me to have a fancy slide, or like a template or something. I'm like, no, for me, if I ever give a speech, my slides are black with white text.
Yeah.
Or black with a picture on it. Like they're black. Because if I have a completely black screen and it's blank, you're not going to be looking at it because it's going to look like the projector's been shut off. You're going to be looking at me.
Yeah.
However, if there's white text on it, that contrast is so huge that you're going to be drawn to it. So there's just that in contrast alone, that whole entire thing. Because you can use that for class presentations. You can use that for work presentations. Like people use slideshows or they have to design like little like case studies kind of thing. Or just essays. I did a group dynamics class and we had to design a pamphlet I was like, this is basically they were like, write an essay and then make it look nice. And I was like, okay. And so what we did for our slides was we took the design of our pamphlet and put it into our slides and then made them coherent. And our teacher loved it. And then with repetition, specifically what you were talking about, if I go into a speech, I will say the same phrase multiple times. And typically the phrase that I repeat will be the title of my speech.
Yeah.
I did a speech. It's called What's in a Name? And it's my favorite speech to this day that I've ever written, ever done. I worked on it for 6 months of practicing and trial runs and everything. And it's basically just about my name change and how I went through that, but also just the power behind names. And that's why I like the branding discussion that we had on Monday. But going through that, the amount of times that I said what's in a name, or I tied it back to my old name or something, made it more powerful for people. Yeah. Because in a speech, if I just continue to say this, if I just say one thing and I ditch it, if you and I said, here's design in life, and we never tied it back to the title name, it could get lost.
Yeah.
And so that's important because you don't want your message to ever get lost. And again, that's something that you can use in everyday life. When I'm having a conversation with somebody and I want my point to get across, I will make sure that I repeat something over and over again. Yeah. What's something? So if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're trying to give them feedback, and basically there's this Oreo method or sandwich method or whatever, and they teach you it when you're beginning designers, because typically beginning designers are, not to be rude on beginning designers, we've all been there, but they're a lot more if you attack my work, you're attacking me, where once you've advanced, you're just tear my piece apart, please. I would love for you to tear this apart. Literally, conversations that you and I have had. But I would love for you to tear this apart, please. I would love for you to tear this apart. But when you're a beginning designer, what they want you to do is start off with something great about their design, a compliment. I really love the way that you use the colors here. However, this is one thing that I think you could fix, and then another compliment. And basically you're repeating the compliment. So this way you have this constructive criticism, but the main thing that they walk away from is, wow, they thought my design is really good. If I fixed this one thing, it would be even better.
Yeah.
Where if you repeated 2 negative things and you put a nice thing in between, you would walk away going, what the heck? This person just attacked my design. What the heck? And so I don't know. I think repetition is a super important part of any conversation, any communication, any public speaking.
Yeah.
As well as contrast too. So
yeah.
I'm trying not to talk the whole time.
No, you're good.
Stop me if I am.
You're good. One of the other things that I was thinking is really important in communication in general and in life is hierarchy. Not specifically the way you use hierarchy in design, but of just making sure that the things that are most important have that relevance and get the attention that it needs, type thing. So so the way I was thinking of it, I keep going back to communication analogies. But if you're sending an email, you're going to say the most important thing first. So you have to have that hierarchy of the things that you're communicating about or the things that you're doing. There's going to be a natural hierarchy, and it using the principle of thinking, okay, this is the most important. I need to make sure this stands out the most, is something really beneficial that again can be pulled from design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to ramble on, but I have stuff to say.
Go for it. It's a conversation. We're talking.
I know, but I feel like I'm dominating it because I'm tying in public speaking, and
you're good.
That's
I brought it to public speaking first. So
that's fair. Public speaking is my thing. I've been doing it for 7 years.
And it's also very easy to tie design elements into public speaking because we're talking about how to effectively get a point across.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you use you use design elements to make your design look good, but we're also taught in the communications department to use them to communicate a message. And so like it's something else that is different but still the same of we're communicating a message. So these principles that you're using to communicate a message can also be used over here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm going to stick with your email analogy and then also just go into public speaking, but you have a subject line when you're sending an email. You have a subject line, and in my subject lines, whenever I'm emailing a professor, and they will corroborate this if you ever ask them, literally the first word of my subject line is Dugid. Is my last name.
Yeah.
And it's just because that's the most important thing that they need to know. They need to know who is sending this email.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it? So this way they can like kind of realize who, like, not like I'm more important, but just like they need to know who it is because then they can think about the situation that I'm bringing up. Yeah. But it says Dugid, and then it'll say like if I want to meet with them during their office hours, it says Dugid office hours. If I have a question, I'll like list the homework assignment. And so this way, when they read the title, that's the first thing that they'll see and think and go, okay, how, and then they'll read it and go into the email itself and kind of read all of that stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like they need to know, is this an urgent email? Can I answer this later? Is this going to be a quick response? Is this going to be a long response? Because even as like a TA, I got to respond to somebody's email. Sorry. Even as a TA, an important thing that I do is like if somebody texts me or emails me and it's not between the hours of 8 and 5, like first off, I'm not obligated to respond, which like I'm not saying that to be rude, but like I have other stuff going on typically. Like if somebody emails me during art check, I'm not going to stop doing art check.
Yeah.
But also just like if it's a really quick thing, I can usually respond right there, right then and there. And that's just kind of what I'll use. Also, just the whole hierarchy thing. I'm not going to name the title of my speech some unimportant sub part of my speech, like a sub point.
Mm-hmm.
Like my what's in a name speech went through my first name, my middle name, my last name. If anybody's interested in listening to or whatever, I'll send you the link so you can post it in the bio, or description or whatever it's called on YouTube. But I wasn't going to name my speech my middle name. Like that doesn't get the point across. I don't want, like, that's not what my speech is about. That's part of my speech, but that's not what my speech about. My speech is about like the general, what does the name mean? Mm-hmm. And like I did that. I had an ADHD speech and it was straight up just called ADHD. One of the most fun speeches that I've ever done because I got to act like a complete fool for like 30 seconds. I kid you not. It's like the funniest speech that I've ever done. I wrote a speech about the Lego Batman movie actually, but
I want it.
I'll send you the link. There's literally a speaking channel. It's called Kayla Speaks, and it's a really poorly designed logo because I haven't touched it since way before I took vector graphics. So we're not going to judge it. But I'll send you the link. But anyways, that speech was literally just called the Lego Batman movie. Because that was the overall thing in my speech. My speech was just called ADHD. I had a speech called PTSD. And it's because I don't need to overcomplicate what my speech is about.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to say, here's what this speech is about. This speech is about PTSD. You can watch it and listen to the rest. Here's this speech about the Lego Batman movie. It's intriguing, so you can listen to the rest. Like, that's just such an important thing, is like, it's an attention grabber.
Yeah.
Is your title. And it's literally called like an attention getting device in public speaking. It's the first thing that your speech starts with. And that's also a thing in like photography. Where is your eye first drawn to? That should be the most important thing.
Yeah.
Your eye should not be drawn to the center of a picture. There are very specific times where it can, but most of the time it shouldn't. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
My eye should never be drawn directly to like the black dot in the center of my screen. It should be drawn somewhere.
Mhm.
There should be a leading line in it. It should naturally lead my eyes to follow the page.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing with design. You can draw something to the general center of the page, but it's not going to be drawn to the exact center dot.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That kind of went a lot. I may have lost it a little bit at the end, but I was making a point, and I hope I got it.
Yeah, you were making good points. Yeah. One of the last ones I guess it's a little too early to start on the last one, but one of the things I've been thinking a lot about are balance and alignment, and like, you know, in design, that's like really simple of like making sure things line up and like making sure that the design in general feels balanced. And I don't remember how they taught us balance, because the only thing I can think of is like when I'm checking to see if something is balanced, it's just how it feels. Like, does it feel balanced? If that makes sense. But yeah. I was thinking about how those two specifically really applied to like life in general, that it's important to balance your life, and like there's no one specific way to teach that. Like you just have to go with what feels balanced. Yeah. And the same kind of thing with alignment of like, and that one I feel like is a lot easier to track in your life, because in general, like you should, I think most people should have a goal or something they're moving towards. And when you have a goal or something you're moving towards, it's very easy to align your actions to make sure that your actions are getting you to that goal. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I wanted to hit on first, but I'm going to hit on alignment first.
Okay.
Oh, that was my neck that just popped. 1 second. Sorry.
Heard that.
Sorry, everybody. I like breathed in and my neck just popped all the way down. It was very weird. Alignment. I'm trying to think of how I want to start this. Whenever you have a goal in life, you're going to do everything that you can, depending on how important that goal is to you, to do it. And so your priorities kind of will fall into place from there. It has been pointed out to me before that my priorities may not exactly be the best sometimes. And so I've kind of had to fix that. And one thing that I like about alignment is that there's right alignment, there's left alignment, there's center alignment, there's top alignment, there's bottom alignment.
You can align it to a shape. Like
yeah, you can align it to like a curve. There's literally text along path, like you're aligning it to whatever path you just made. There's a bunch of different types of alignment, which essentially means like, let's say that my goal, I mean, I had the goal of paying off credit card debt and I just achieved it, right? That meant that almost everything that I spent money on, like I would go out with my friends and I would be like, okay, I have to spend less than $10. Like I'd go out with them a couple times, but I knew that we were going to go out a couple times. And so I had to spend less than $10 every time. And that was just like my thing, is that's what I had to do. I didn't go to the grocery store for 2.5 weeks. If I went to Walmart, I wasn't allowed to spend a penny. Like that is what I had to do. Other people that are paying off credit card debt, they might not align their goals the same way that I did. It was super important to me because I'm 20, I'm young, and I didn't want to just start snowballing it. I just wanted to fix it now. And that's just kind of the way that I had to go about it. I know people that are in credit card debt that they want to get out of it, but they necessarily can't right now. I was in that situation. I know people that want to get in credit card debt that are in credit card. They don't want to be in credit card debt. They are in credit card debt and they want to get out of it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the top of their priority list. That doesn't mean that their priorities are necessarily wrong. I've just, we'll say I've left aligned my priorities and they've topped aligned them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just a lot of different ways that you can align your priorities to hit your goal.
Yeah.
Which I will say I think is one nice thing about like the two of us, just as like friends and co-hosts of this show. Like, one of our priorities has always been art check.
Yeah.
That's just been it. It's been the art.
Mm-hmm.
However, you and I have completely different ways about going about topics, which is why I've just been letting you lead the whole thing tonight, because I knew I wasn't going to hit on whatever it was. But that's seriously a nice thing, is like, you and I can have the same goal or the same topic, but we're completely on opposite ends of the spectrum, like all over the place. If you guys saw our notes list, we have a topic and sometimes we'll literally put subtopics because we're like, this is too broad. The other person's not going to say what I want them to say.
We've started communicating that.
Yeah. It took probably only like 3 episodes until we realized it. Yeah. And being that we're on 39 right now.
Yeah.
But the cool thing with that is seriously just like, there are so many different ways to go about it to get to the one goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can align my goals however the heck I want. But for me, it's going to work the best way that I need it to.
Yeah.
Also, just in general, stay away from center alignment. Hey.
Depending on how you do it.
Depending on how you do it.
I was thinking, when I said that, I was thinking justified, but then it's like, you always have those last 3 little words, and it's like, don't center align those last 3 little words. Like, just push it over.
Just figure out something.
Yeah.
Do anything. I've heard that's a principle of design, but it's also a matter of preference sometimes. It is. However, we have been taught by people.
However, we have been taught by people that it is not their preference.
That it is not their preference, and therefore it is not our preference. And we are not necessarily talking about Kurt. I'm not talking about Kurt. I'm talking about somebody else. And I have been taught not to center align. Don't do it. Yeah. Anyways, that was a small joke, but also very serious. It's as serious as not using papyrus or Comic Sans.
But, however, I mean, not that this ties in at all, but there is a time and a place for Comic Sans.
There's a time and a place for papyrus, too. Have you seen the SNL sketch?
Yes. Yep.
If anybody...
one.
Yeah, if anybody wants a good laugh, and this is such a tangent, and I'm so sorry, but this is literally, Kerr showed it to us in 460. Yeah, I know that you saw it because we were together. Kerr showed it to us in 462.
I actually, the first time I saw it, Libert showed it. It was like the week after it came out, Libert showed it in the web design class, and we all just like loved it because it's so on point. It's great.
If you ever want a laugh, look up Papyrus SNL skit or Avatar SNL skit. Mm-hmm. Basically, the Avatar logo, the blue people, not the Last Airbender, the blue people logo. Come to think of it, the blue people logo, I haven't actually looked at that one at all, so I'm not going to say anything. But the blue people logo is basically Avatar with really interesting kerning and letting, just like spread apart.
Yeah.
And it's a logo, and it's just papyrus, and it's a whole SNL sketch on that.
I'm going crazy about it.
And this guy is like so mad that this like high up designer got away with it, and everybody thinks it's like the best thing ever. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna shut up now because it's so off topic. But and it's Ryan Gosling too, and he's so over dramatic. Oh, it's the best thing. Anyways. Sorry, everybody, but it's so funny.
It is. It's really good.
Okay, right. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, reining it back in, wrapping it up a little bit.
What was the last thing you wanted to talk about?
Well, it was balance and alignment. Those were the last things that I wanted to bring up. But basically, just to tie nice little strings around this, the whole thing we're talking about tonight is that when you really think about it, design principles can be applied to your life anywhere. And having, like, allowing yourself to have a design mindset as you're going throughout your life will help you realize that and then help you apply it to your life. And it will ultimately just end in a more direct, a life that has like more organization, more direction, better communication, all of that happy good stuff. So yeah.
I agree. The main takeaway, like, for me is like basically what you said, but just a little bit more broad. Like, in our intro to visual communications class, we get taught, you have the first thing that you get taught is contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity, and color. And the one thing that we didn't actually really talk about much today is proximity. However, all 4 or 5 of those things can seriously be drawn into your day-to-day life. We've talked about it in many different ways. We've talked about hierarchy. Basically, like, I'm not saying like design is like a huge metaphor, but the principles of design, if you really think about it, you can find them everywhere in your day-to-day life. And it seriously can change the way that you think about your life and the way that you run it. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, just at the beginning of the episode, I was talking about art check. When you make design a priority, or you do something such as 48-hour art check, or you do something where you're holding yourself accountable, it can really actually change your life. And when you surround yourself by designers, it can change your life as well. That's a lot of things to kind of wrap it up into a little bow, and I'm sorry, but this topic, I didn't know where I was going to go on this topic. I wasn't very passionate about this topic when we started, just because I didn't know where we were going.
Yeah.
But for real, like, it can change your life so much. Like, my life has changed drastically in the past year. Mm-hmm. And it's been a year now, actually. I figured it out. It's been 13 months since I started designing. Yeah. And my life has drastically completely changed. And, you know, it's just because once you start thinking like a designer, that fixes it. And not fixes it, but like that changes it. And when I say designer, I don't just mean graphic designer. I mean illustrator, comic, like artist is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm done now. I'm going to stop because I'm rambling on and I'm trying to tie it up into a nice little bow and it's just not happening.
No, I think we're there. It's good. All right. If you want to see my stuff, this is my Instagram, kaitlinspirations. Also down in the description is my website and my YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, and a bunch of other links for me. If you would like to see any of Kayla's work, this is her Instagram. And down in the bio, there's all sorts of links for hers. I keep saying bio. Down in the description, there's all sorts of links for her as well. And this is her Twitter, where she'll usually tweet out before we go live. So look for that.
Or like today, 5 seconds into the live, and I go, I gotta tweet.
It's fun.
Really quick, just to think about mine. Follow me on Twitter is more so just like my general thoughts about things, my general like, hey, check out this thing. Whereas my Instagram is a lot more like, seriously, you can look at my feed and just see the progress that I've been making on this Disney design. And so that's more of it. If you're more interested in like the drafts behind my designs, Instagram, like go check it out. Twitter is more like if you ever want to talk to me or just you're ever curious about my genuine thoughts about my designs, just follow that.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think so. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.